Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I even hear other sports talk shows saying they have the Universal Award. I think you started that last week, Big C, so they're a little bit behind. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys up in Canada. You know, I love Canada so much, I even learned your national anthem, and I know there's been a bit of a controversy with Big C and Drake saying who sings better, so this is not fake love, this is Oh Canada, our home and native land. Now let's see if Drake can do something like that when Toronto's in the play. Toronto's out of the playoffs, so he can't do it for this. He got to do it for something else, Big C. But there's still no one I love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Even though Canada has representation in NHL,
yeah.
I don't know if Drake knows anything about hockey being a basketball man and all.
Yeah.
You can't take courtside in hockey and dress like it is. You're going to have to call some long johns.
Some long johns. That's true, Big C. Today is a beautiful May the 11th, 2017. So many things going on in the world of sports, talking about basketball, NBA style, Major League Baseball. Teams are trying to swing the bat a little bit better. The NHL having some great games, Big C. Your thoughts on the Washington Capitals being eliminated in 7 games last night by the Penguins? I didn't know that the Penguins could beat Capitals, Big C. Your thoughts?
Constantly the best team in the Eastern Conference during the regular season, but they got a little LA Clipper in them.
Yeah.
Second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're the proverbial second round elimination team. You got Alexander Ovechkin, a 3-time, MVP in the NHL.
Yeah.
And, for some reason, he has not been able to, elevate his team beyond the second round of the playoffs. And, his arch nemesis is Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Who has won a couple of Stanley Cup titles since, his career began in Pittsburgh about a decade ago. So, it's almost like what's going to happen every time they run into each other.
Yeah.
Whether it's Pittsburgh or somebody else in the Eastern Conference. But, it's ironic that, you have the best player 3 times on your team.
Yeah.
And you never make it out of the Eastern Conference. As well as looking at the Western Conference, the mighty Ducks of Anaheim last night advanced.
Yeah.
And knocked out that second Canadian team, Edmonton. So now you're going to have the Anaheim Mighty Ducks and the Nashville Predators playing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out which one of those teams are in the West.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Nashville was in the West. They look like my neighbor, Joe.
Hey, something about geography is kind of like Donald Trump. He doesn't know where to build that wall. We keep having all this connection with Russia, and he wouldn't be looking at impeachment if he built that wall between the USA and Russia, Big C. That might have helped them more than them good old boys down south. I also want to ask you, what's up with these, the Penguins? They got a little bit of some moxie in them, Big C. When you think about the Pittsburgh Penguins, they have a long history of winning. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks, not as much history of winning, because no matter how great they are NHL-wise, when you're in LA, you're always going to take a back seat to the mighty LA Lakers. And it's not just what the Lakers are trying to do. Even though they haven't made the playoffs in a long time, Big C, you still think about Magic Johnson. You still think about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You still think about Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, all them good old boys. Even though they don't win every year and don't get to the playoffs every year like San Antonio, it's their history and their legacy that will have people still buying tickets. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you want to be there when they turn the organization around, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why fans don't give up on the Lakers. Plus, it's been showtime for many, many years.
Yeah.
The Clippers are just a new team in town, Charlton. The Lakers are the legacy. They're what LA grew up on, ever since their move from Minneapolis decades ago.
Yeah.
And came out and established themselves as one of the top teams in the Western Conference of the NBA. Showtime began back in the late 60s.
Yeah.
When you had Wilt, Jerry West, Gil Goodrich, Happy Harrison, even the great Elgin Baylor when he led the Lakers.
Yeah.
Still one of the all-time great forwards in the history of the game.
Yeah.
So, the Lakers have a long legacy of building fan, loyalty.
Yeah.
And dominance on the court.
Yeah.
So that's something that's hard to walk away. It's almost like last night, at the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
And, I still think that the city of Boston is building the fan.
Yeah.
With the games and shit that they had last couple weeks, you think about the games they had with the Orioles.
Yeah.
And the antics that went on there as far as the racial slurs and epithets that were thrown at the outfielder for the Orioles.
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
And then last night, what they were saying to Kelly Oubre. This is where the NBA and even Major League Baseball
Yeah.
needs to step in. You can't have fans fan-basing players saying F you throughout the crowd. As an NBA, you can find an organization.
Yeah.
As an organization, you need to take stronger steps in controlling the fans. That's what we saw that.
Yeah.
With Jones just a week and a half ago, as fans were throwing ethnic racial slurs to him, the
Yeah.
outfielder for the Orioles. Now last night with Gilbert and the Washington, being there in town.
Yeah.
No official in the contest.
Well, Big C.
And then you also
Yeah.
look at the national broadcast.
Yeah.
You can't even beat that out. You don't have a 7-second to go on a live broadcast.
Yeah, and that's a part of what happens in the world of sports. There's always going to be a couple bad apples. Hopefully the good apples will outweigh the bad apples in everything that we do. I also want to say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive one, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, something is going on in the world of sports, and I know it's always been there. And we saw it with the great Jackie Robinson when he had to go through a lot of hatred, and that was from his own team, let alone the guys on the outside that he was playing against and some of the fans that were in the stands making a lot of, negative noise. But there's something about the world of sports, and I think it always brings people together, even if you don't like each other. It's one of the only things in the world that you can do where you want to beat your opponent, but at the end of the day, you still shake their hand and you respect them. Now, when someone gets beaten at a workforce and they get fired from a job, most of them don't go in and shake the hands of the person that fired them and say, hey, thank you, I appreciate it working here. But when someone beats you on an athletic field, most guys will get up and shake hands. What can the fans learn from that, Big C? What the fans can learn from that is you can be part of the team environment, the home, what they call home field advantage. But if you're out there making a bad name for your city, isn't that something that the city can come down on players? Because they're all playing these ballparks are financed by the public, okay? I'm not going to say it's a hate crime because we know things get said, but it's going to be something where the city's going to have to impose some fines on people the same way they impose fines on parking tickets. Big C, your thoughts?
But Jonathan, this is the history of Boston, okay?
Yeah.
This is not new. The incidents that we've seen over the last 2 weeks in Boston, this is commonplace.
Yeah.
For Boston in this sports arena. When you look at Boston's makeup, Jonathan, even the people, the minority people who
Yeah.
live in that city deal with racial epithets
Yeah.
all the time, okay?
Yeah.
So the fans and what they did, they have a history of this, Jonathan, in their sporting venues. This goes back over the years. Bernard King used to have to deal with that when he was with the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
The things that they would say to Bernard. Even the Lakers, during that great Boston-Laker rivalry, even though they didn't play a lot during the regular season,
Yeah.
they would play more in the playoffs than what they ever played during the regular season. Lakers had to deal with that. Okay? So this is nothing new. Boston has had a hard time dealing with minority players over its history.
Yeah.
If you look at the closet of the Boston Red Sox during the 70s,
Yeah.
they had no African-American players on their team.
Yeah.
In the 70s, the Boston Red Sox, and definitely not in the 60s. Only in the late Jim Rice, an African-American player, won.
Yeah.
Outfielder.
Yeah.
But this team went a long time without having African-American players on the team.
Well,
The Boston Patriots were at an NFL team.
yeah.
There was a number of African-American NFL players on the team when they played in Boston.
Yeah.
Not until they moved to Foxborough, that was not increased. The history of it, and people will look at the early days of the Celtics in the
Yeah.
60s with Bill Russell, Casey Jones, they had three
Yeah.
on the team, Charlton.
Yeah.
Three. But that was it. They were the best team in basketball, and these three were stars, but beyond the arena,
Well, let me ask you about that question, because all over the country, I know the United States of America is a melting pot of people, even though there's still a lot of segregation that goes on, and people can choose to be isolated if they want to. But Boston's a great metropolitan city because of the academic institutions in Boston. So I know that there's always pockets in any city that just they don't care for integration. They don't care for having people that don't look like them in their environment unless they're in a uniform. And unfortunately, that's how some people raise their families, like the Archie Bunker mentality. And who can tell people whether or not they should raise their kids to be, segregationists, or if they should be integrationists? Whatever works for them is what they're going to do. But I want to ask you this question. At some point in time, you can't just go into any civic center and start yelling at people and calling them what we could call making hate crimes or offensive statements that can be considered a hate crime. Is there anything that a municipality can do to start sanctioning these fans that have that behavior, not punish everybody, but treat it like someone parking in a handicap sticker? They get fined and they get admonished in the court system. Big C, your thoughts?
Okay, Jonathan, if you've ever been to a sporting event in the greater Boston market,
yeah,
you'll see that the composite of the crowd is plus 95% white. Okay?
Yeah.
And so those racial and those profanity slurs were coming from whites, Jonathan,
yeah,
in the stands. Okay?
Yeah.
We're not African Americans, we're not Hispanic Americans, we're not Asian Americans, Jonathan. They were white.
So,
and they're saying FU
yeah,
in an arena. Now think about how many people took their kids to the arena, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Regardless of the nationality. We're talking about minor children that fathers were proud to take to a playoff game.
Yeah.
And their children have to sit there and listen to this profanity-laden crowd spewing this out in TD Garden last night.
Yeah.
Talking no different than a week and a half ago when Jones was in Fenway Park. You look around at the crowds in Boston, whether it's hockey, basketball, football, baseball, Jonathan.
Yeah.
They're white. They're white. Now think about it. These have been African-American people, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
Spewing this out. How many police would have come in? Now think about it. Let's go back 2 months ago, okay?
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. Charles Oakley, they said, made some profanity slurs towards the owner of the Knicks, Dolan. Okay?
Yeah.
Charles Oakley was accosted by 7 policemen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thrown to the floor. Former All-Star. Former New York Knicks great. Okay?
Yeah.
Was basically beaten down by the police in public in front of everybody.
Yeah.
For making profanity statements towards an owner.
Yeah.
Now think about all these white fans in Boston Garden, all of them in Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Could say whatever they wanted to an African American player. Think about it. Both Jones and Oubre were African American, okay?
Yeah.
So all these profanity tirades towards African Americans have become acceptable. They've always been acceptable, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But the minute an African American does it, he's arrested and charged.
Well, see, that's a very
Charles Oakley,
yeah.
was an individual, and everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
He was charged. But these white fans get a pass, Jonathan, for cussing out an African American player.
Well, see, I want to bring up that point because even to this day, and I love Boston for sports. I know any city can have its own vitriolic speech. A lot of people can get liquored up and say what they want to say. But I look at it from the national point of view. Being here on the West Coast, I still hear people telling the lie that Colin Kaepernick was trying to shame his country by not standing for the national anthem. He was standing for the Black Lives Matters, which is anti-police brutality. That's what he was doing. But our media, which is, I'm calling up my white brethren, because the ignorant ones, they're just going to be ignorant. But the ones who are well-read, they know that it wasn't about anti-troops. It was about anti-black violence. Police crime, police behavior. Now, when someone can tell one individual get the hell out of the country, we know that stems from Donald Trump and a couple of knucklehead people out there. No one said that to the white audience when they were yelling at Jackie Robinson to get the hell out of the country, because he was just trying to play baseball as an African-American male. So I want to ask you this question, and maybe no one else would do it but us. If something happens in the black community, at least we tend to talk about it, whether it was Farrakhan and the Million Man March, whether it's Jesse Jackson with, Keep Hope Alive, or Dr. King with I Have a Dream. Who's going to be the great white personality that will say to white society, don't do this, that we're better than this, and stop making excuses for the knuckleheads and start calling them out, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what was this said last night at Boston Garden? What would it be considered? What would it be considered under?
Yeah. I'm having a little bit of having a little bit of time with your microphone, Big C. Let me see if we can clear it up. I just want to ask you that question again. All throughout the history, even Jackie Robinson, he was told to turn a blind eye to all the N-words and all the racial epithets that came from white society. You know, the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we love our country and diversity and all that stuff. That same society is the one that they allowed that behavior to go on, whether they're behind closed doors or not. We know behind closed doors, a lot of people, they're okay with the N-word and they're okay with the racial segregation jokes and all that garbage. They don't have the balls to say it in public because they're cowards. But who's not a coward that's white that can stand up and say to white America, cut out the garbage? And to also say to the same media that tried to frame Colin Kaepernick as an anti-American because he was just saying stop killing black Americans to the police officers. And who's going to be the great white hope that will actually speak truth to white Americans that they will actually respect? Because we know Donald Trump can't do it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
The worldwide leader in sports. The guys with all the pretty guys and all the pretty women broadcasting.
Yeah.
They'll come out and talk about the atrocity of these people, of these fans, of these white fans, talking about how racial that was with their thing, and it's targeted at an African American player, Charlton.
No.
No, they don't. They tried to handle that with kid gloves, Charlton.
Yeah.
It was all racially motivated. Think about it. It was two black players. There were fantasy-laced tirades over a 3-word ball.
Yeah. Well, see, Big C, and I understand. I know we're having some issues with your microphone, but I do look at that point. I never.
I heard the broadcaster talking about these people are pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
These fans are an embarrassment to the NBA. They are an embarrassment to the city. No, they didn't say that.
Yeah.
They basically handled them with kid gloves because they were white. Okay?
Yeah.
But think about it. If they had been black, or they'd been hooligan.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been rude. It would have been better. Think about what Phil Jackson said about,
LeBron James and his posse.
They're a posse.
Yeah.
They went out cussing out anybody, Charlton.
No.
But these black fans, they've been better hooligans.
Yeah.
They've been all over Fox News. But no, they were white fans. These are upstanding citizens of Boston. This heritage-rich, racist city.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to make you do that is that you're racist.
Well, Big C, that's a different angle to look at, because I can see ESPN did a lot of the broadcasting of Colin Kaepernick and tried to make it anti-troops, which everyone who has a brain knows that's not true. But there's a lot of knucklehead people who just don't read. They'll believe anything you tell them. They'll believe the world is flat because they're ignorant. But when you have a media company that will stand up and they'll say nothing when the N-word's being tossed around by a predominantly white fan base, they don't give that the same attention as they'll do one African American stand up to say, let's stop the police killing the black kids. Okay, they tried to make it anti-troops, which is, they did that deliberately, okay? But too many people are dumb and they don't question anything. So why not take that same vigor and use it to tell the people who've been using that same slur since the days of Jackie Robinson that you're not acceptable here. We're going to call you out. The only thing I can think of, Big C, is they tacitly consent to it. Would that make any sense, Big C?
Passively, Charlton, they actively consented to it last night because they just sit there and let the fans know. Now, if ESPN or whoever was broadcasting the game, TNT,
Yeah.
had any character about them last night, they would have killed the audio.
Yeah.
And just let the game play.
Yeah.
Because we can witness what's going on at a sporting event. There's no announcers during a game when you're at a game live, okay?
Yeah.
But what you did, you were celebrating the audience. That's what you did by not killing the audio last night. As a company, you were celebrating the audience, allowing them a platform.
Yeah.
To be ignorant in this day and age in American society.
Yeah.
To go out and use racial profanities. Basically, it was racial profanities, Charlton, because it was a white audience targeting a black player, okay?
Yeah.
And this wasn't one rant, Charlton. This went on for several minutes, okay? They didn't go out, the police didn't go and clear the arena. You could look clearly at who was saying it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to have somebody point out an individual. It was the arena, Charlton.
Yeah.
And any
Well, you know, what's interesting about that, Big C, is we have a president that, I mean, if this happened when Obama was like, at least he would come out and say something about it. I know he talked about issues when different things would happen. And he had the story on race. Isn't it ironic what you just brought up? And it just popped in my mind as I'm thinking. President Obama, when he became the president of the United States, the 44th president, they had him do a conversation on race as if he's trying to tell white Americans that we all need to get along. Well, they know that and they don't care, pejoratively, because they still have the power. There are a lot of good people who happen to be Caucasian, but if they don't say anything, then they tacitly consent also. Has Donald Trump been asked to give a speech on race or gender equality or anti-violence against women? Or, because if he did, I think it would have at least give some people who don't have the same curves that we have to say, let's put an end to this garbage. But POTUS doesn't have the mentality. He's more praising the Russian oligarchies who are, you know, dealing with our election, tampering with the election, than he is trying to help the investigators make sure that we still have fairness in the United States. I think a lot of that is a boilover, Big C. It's a spillover from our administration where people feel they can be like the good old boys again. And maybe that's part of the problem with that ugliness resurfacing in Boston. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this is what he spoke about during his campaign, Joe. He said we're going to go back to the way things used to be.
Yeah.
Now, you got to look at it that the police and security quietly set aside last night while this was going on, as well as even in, you know, Wembley Park a week and a half ago, Johnson.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm more ashamed of the broadcast network than I am of the Boston people.
Why is that, C? Why is that?
The reason why is because they stayed silent while this was occurring. They didn't lambaste the people of Boston who were doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the entire city, Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones in the arena that was doing it. They didn't talk about how much of an embarrassment this was to the Boston Celtics, to the NBA,
Yeah.
to the city of Boston, to the blacks, to the African Americans of America.
Yeah.
They didn't apologize to the African Americans.
Yeah.
They did not, Jonathan. So they came right along with the fans. It was okay with the broadcasters, Joe, last night for the SU word to just be continued throughout the broadcast. Like I said, if the broadcast company had had any type of moxie, any type of stones or character,
Yeah.
they would have killed the audio. But they let the audio continue to play. And they're doing their sports broadcast today, Joe.
Yeah.
They're going to try to dub that little bit out. You couldn't dub it out during the live broadcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Why did they have characters
Yeah.
to represent the American public and kill the audio last night?
Yeah, and that's true.
That showed me that they appreciated what the fans were saying more than respecting the people at home having listened to the spewing of that garbage.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. Hopefully they can put as much emphasis and time on at least making a speech to the fans. You know, Dr. King did it half a century ago. You know, I have a dream that we want to be treated fair, and that's for every community. I just hope that we can have that, and I think sports is a way that we can do it. I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry. For every industry in athletics, you need athletic and event insurance. You can get it through Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We go through Ben and Mark, who's been around for half a century, Big C. We can do it in all 50 states, even in several countries around the world. So tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network for athletic and event insurance. Big C, something else back in the world of sports. You know, just so many things happening. But last night, that game at TD Gardens, I look at Boston's Avery Bradley. He had a decent game, and Bradley had a career-high 29 points. The Celtics took a 3-2 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think John Wall is still the second-best player in the Eastern Conference behind LeBron James. Some people think, you know, that it might be Kyrie Irving, but when you look at what happened last night in the 123 1-1 win, taking a 3-2 lead, Al Horford added 19 points and 6 rebounds, and Isaiah Thomas only had 18 points, but he had 9 assists for Boston, Big C. I'll be looking closer and closer to seeing Isaiah and the good old boys in Boston back in the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah. Yeah.
I think Washington would be more of a challenge to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Boston would be. They're going to get physical on Isaiah Thomas like they did last year against Steph Curry.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do. They're going to spend some fouls on him. He will have to work expeditiously hard to get to the basket against Cleveland, Charles. You know, that's a natural teammate matchup they want
Yeah.
So that same embarrassment rise on TV that we saw, last night, like I said, I was appalled by the actions of the broadcast company. They don't let the fans see it.
Yeah.
I'm appalled by the broadcast company of letting it play out.
Yeah.
They always have an opportunity to hit the kill switch, Jonathan, to
Yeah.
kill the audio.
Yeah.
Until that dies down, but they didn't. So it showed me an appreciation that the broadcast company has. The producer, the director, hey, this is live. We got to let that go.
Yeah.
So you think about it, in boxing events, Jonathan, MMA, you're in the corner and all of a sudden the corner man uses some profanity.
Which is all the time, Big Z, all the time.
They kill that mic in a hurry.
Yeah.
And on an NFL sideline.
Yeah.
They kill that mic in a hurry.
Yeah.
Played, Jonathan. This played for several minutes, and the broadcast company was okay with it.
Yeah.
Because it was the chance at a black athlete. And like you said, after Jackie Robinson, they should have been all over.
Yeah.
Jim Brown lived through those racial epithets as a great player in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay? And now this is continuing in Boston. 2017, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Twice in a 2-week span that an African-American player has had to be berated with profanity tirades from white fans, and it's okay by the broadcast media.
Well, hopefully we can turn things around because we got to talk about everything, Big C, the way we do on Big C Sports. Let me just get your thoughts here on John Wall. 21 points for the Wizards, who haven't won a playoff game in Boston since 1982. That's when Johnny Most was doing, and the Celtics win again and defeat the Washington Bull. Okay, so we know it's been a long time. They have to get past that block of being able to go into Boston and win a game. Obviously, you're going to say they got to win when they go back to Washington. I don't think they come back to Boston and win either. Let me ask you this question. If you look at how the game has been called, it's a physical game. Boston, by being battle-tested against a very physical Washington, do you think that even gives them a slight more chance of hope against Cleveland, Big C, and how physical they play?
Well, Cleveland has the bodies, Jonathan.
Yeah.
They can run a 9-man rotation.
Yeah.
And that's the difference with Cleveland does, versus when you've been running a 7-man rotation for most of the playoffs. That gives you extra fouls to use during the game.
Yeah.
And not just extra fouls, Jonathan, to be extra physical.
Yeah.
And at this point in the season, Jonathan, when you get into that third round of the playoffs, you've played well in excess of 100 games.
Yeah.
With the preseason, the regular season, and the playoff games, Jonathan, you've topped 100 games in a season category. So the bodies are a little more weary and don't respond as much as they used to.
Yeah.
So when you go out there and you beat up on a player, it's really going to take its toll. If you can get enough 3 or 4 points in one game,
Yeah.
that could be the margin of victory.
Well, that's definitely the case because I look at this and I just keep thinking back to that East Coast, West Coast thing. I don't see Boston getting past Cleveland because the NBA wants to see them good old boys from Cleveland play the good old boys from Oakland, Big C. I think that's just something waiting to happen. Tonight's game, Kawhi Leonard's not playing against Houston. Might be a game that Houston should win, whether they do or not. If you're Pop, you don't want to go back to San Antonio in a 7-game series against a team that can shoot threes and should have won the last time they were there, Big C. Your thoughts on not playing the good old boy from San Antonio tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, from a San Antonio perspective, Jonathan, it really doesn't make a difference. They're going to be playing Sunday regardless, okay?
Yeah.
They're going to be playing back in San Antonio on Sunday, or they're going to be playing in Oakland on Sunday. So it's really advantageous to get Kawhi Leonard to rest, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they have to play Sunday regardless. If they go in and they win this game without him,
Yeah.
he gets the 3-day rest.
Yeah.
If they go in and do not win without him, Jonathan, he still gets the 3-day rest.
Yeah.
So it's to the advantage to let him stay at home and get some treatment, keep him off the court, and be ready for Sunday. You have to play regardless. So, but if you make it, past Sunday, now you continue playing. But if you don't get past Sunday with a guilty Kawhi Leonard,
Yeah.
you get no good to play him in Game 6, Jonathan.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Big C. So obviously, we're all looking for the crescendo, and that's the championship coming up with the Warriors. But they can't look ahead. You got to take it one game at a time, Big C. Just want to run a few baseball scores down the pipe in the American League from yesterday. The Athletics over the Angels is the Royals. They fell. Actually, they lost to the Rays. Blue Jays 8, Indians 7, and that's in the American League. Over in the National League, the Giants beat the Mets. The Rockies over the Cubs 3-0. The Cardinals 7-5 over the Marlins. And a couple of games coming up in Major League Baseball. At already tipping off are throwing the first pitch. Baltimore at Washington. Houston at the New York Yankees. Seattle at Toronto. Hey, that gives me another chance to sing. Whoa, Canada! Okay, that's for the Blue Jays, Big C. And you have San Diego at Texas. Them good old boys of Minnesota. They're at the White Sox. In Detroit, they're at the LA Angels. And that's a good game coming up tonight. And that's your action in the American League. In the National League, Boston, we talked about them playing earlier today against Milwaukee. We have Baltimore at Washington. San Diego at Texas. The Dodgers are at Colorado and Mile High City. Pittsburgh's at Arizona, and Cincinnati's at San Francisco here in Northern California, where we are over here in the Bay Area, Big C. Let me get your thoughts on something, thinking of being here in the Bay Area. A lot of buzz in the air right now because Gabbert got signed by Arizona just a day or two ago, and he was a backup. I think Gabbert was like 5 and I don't even know what his one-loss record is, Big C, but he didn't win not even 30% of Colin Kaepernick's game, not even 50% of his games, but he gets a signed contract first. Big C, just your thoughts on how does that make sense? Yeah. Wow.
9 and 36 as a starter as an NFL quarterback. That's got a whole lot of players with even better records than that.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick may not have a stellar overall record, but you got to think about the last 2 years of his career and how many losses came in the last 2 years, Joe.
Yeah.
He's 31 and 31 as a starter in the NFL, but in the last 2 years, Joe, at least 15 losses came in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
When you think about over half of his losses in his career, that's come in the last 2 years. But Joe, he has 4 playoff victories, okay?
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick is the only quarterback with 4 playoff victories without a job.
Yeah.
Think about that. He's the only NFL or former NFL starter
Yeah.
that's still within his prime with 4 playoff victories and no team. Now that's being blackballed. I don't care how you look at it.
Yeah.
That's being blackballed because you can go out and you can sign all these lesser quarterbacks.
Yeah.
McCown with the Jets. He doesn't have a 500.
Well, hold on. Let me just ask you a question. When you talk about McCown with the Jets, how many NFC Championship games has he been to, Big C? McCown.
You got a lot of ticket stubs.
None. How about Blaine Gabbert? How many NFC Championship games has Blaine Gabbert led any team to, Big C?
He hasn't led anybody to a win, Johnson, realistically, okay?
Okay, so let me ask you this question: how many? And I know Cutler's on in the network broadcast.
Think about Michael Lennon.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a bad thing. He was a backup for the last 2 years. His name is listed. We talked about Blaine Gabbert's record as a starter.
yeah,
Mike Lennon makes Blaine Gabbert look like an all-pro because as a starting quarterback in Tampa, he was 1-10 as a starter, but it was worth $47 million to the Bears.
wow,
1-10 as a starter, it was $47 million. Blaine Gabbert, 9 and 36.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
And he was signed by the Cardinals today. Colin Kaepernick, 31 and 31, okay?
yeah,
4 playoff wins, Charlton, and a Super Bowl appearance.
yeah,
Okay? Cannot get signed. That's being blackballed. But you look at all the free agent quarterbacks. Even Hoyer, who's a 49er signed to replace him,
yeah,
is not a 500 quarterback, okay?
yeah,
But they signed him. They also signed Barkley. Matt Barkley, that was at USC.
Yeah.
Also played with the Bears last year.
yeah,
The 49ers signed him also.
yeah.
And he led the NFL in interceptions.
Yeah. So
You look around and there's no justification but not signing Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback, as an athlete. Okay?
yeah, yeah,
The only justification you have for not signing him is that he's being blackballed. And blackball comes from collusion.
yeah,
Alright?
yeah,
The NFL has been in court before on collusion.
yeah.
Alright? They won't go to court behind Colin Kaepernick.
No.
Even Donald Trump took him to court on collusion. Alright?
Yeah.
The World Football League took him to court on the collusion.
Yeah.
So there's been 2 leagues that took the NFL to court on
Yeah.
We talked about Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
All this signing guys with criminal offenses against women. So they know, and they're on the rules committee, all right?
Yeah.
So here's this black guy who has stood up for Black Lives Matter and anti-violence in America, against Americans.
Yeah.
Not against blacks, John.
Yeah, against Americans. Yeah.
Because you can't just label us as black. All right? He was standing up against anti-violence against Americans. And they labeled him as
Anti-American. Yeah. I think that's the thing that we follow on Big C Sports that you're only going to hear here, because we want to keep it real. We want to be real sports talk, the same way the good old boys talk in the barbershop. It's just honest, and I hope to bring that honesty back to the world of broadcast media, Big C. I even hear some African-American guys saying, well, if Colin Kaepernick was talented enough, then he would get a job. It has nothing to do with race. Those guys that think if they lie to a white guy who knows that you're stupid for saying that they're going to keep their job. They just think you're stupid and you're validating it. It's all about the racial issue. And even someone had the goal to say, well, if he would just take like $800,000, he would find a job today. Why would anyone take minimum wage? I'm sure that guy who made that knucklehead remark is going to go into his employer and say, why are you paying me what I'm worth? Why don't you just pay me 20% of what I'm worth and I'll still work here? That's what they're asking Colin Kaepernick to do. They don't ask white guys to do that, Big C. You can even suck and they'll still make you a number one draft pick. That's just a fact, Big C, because it's a racial thing, because most of the owners are Caucasian. I think the only way we get rid of that is to have the balls to stand up to it. And there are even a lot of black guys, they don't have the balls to do it because they think they're going to get fired for telling the truth. And that's a shame, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's like Robert Griffin III losing his job in Cleveland. Okay?
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns could have fired everybody, not just him.
Yeah.
But he was the black quarterback, so you get rid of him.
Yeah.
All right, but up and down the list in the NFL, Jonathan, when you look at teams who drafted high, that's been the same ones that drafted in the top 5 the last 5 years consecutively, okay?
Yeah.
And that's the team that Blaine Gabbert came from prior to going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So between Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles, 2 white quarterbacks, have kept this team in the top 5 in the draft for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
No one is saying that Blaine Gabbert sucks. No one is saying that Blake Bortles sucks. But they can't get the team out of the top 5 in the draft.
Yeah.
But when you look up and down the legend, Jonathan, at the quarterbacks in the NFL, and you look at all the teams that drafted in the top 10, okay?
Yeah.
How many of them had a starting black quarterback?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Drafted in the top 10 had a starting black quarterback. You're not going to find them, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, Kaepernick started half the year in San Francisco, but Gabbert started out the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a pathetic team. Jim Murphy was pathetic as a general manager.
You know, and I think he was.
Blame it on him, you can blame it on him, but you can blame it on Griffin.
And I think.
And you had white quarterbacks playing all year.
Yeah, and I think that Kaepernick, I think he had a 16 touchdown, 4 interception ratio, 16-4, and I think that's the same as Tom Brady had, and the 49ers had a horrible team. So if you're just an ignorant owner or an ignorant person, or you're too stupid to understand that racism still exists in the United States, find any quarterback that has 16 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, even on a good team that is unemployed today, Big C. It goes back to the article we talked about with Doug Williams back in the day, who still should be a GM somewhere, but he hasn't had the chance yet. And he threw 5 touchdown passes in the Super Bowl against John Elway, and he didn't play anymore. Yeah. Yeah. But what color is Brock Osweiler, Big C? Okay, and the reason I bring this up is because we go back to our commander-in-chief. He can never speak on it. I mean, he's trying to keep his own position in Washington. We know that's not going to happen. A lot of good old boys think that Trump will be out by the end of the year, Big C, because of this Russian involvement. Even though he fired the top guy leading the investigation, there's just so much coming that people need to pay attention to. I know a lot of people don't read, so they can just listen to Big C Sports. We'll bring it to them. But I just want to get your thoughts as we talk about just a few minutes before we close out today's program, and waiting over here in San Francisco for them to throw out the first pitch versus Cincinnati. I'm just saying that real things, real talk matter. All lives matter. Anti-sexual assault matters. It all matters. But you can only get to it and solve it if people tell the truth. And one of the worst things about doing anything is people want to wait until someone takes the lead. I think the military has a slogan, one of the branches, you either lead, follow, or get out of the way. All we need are a few good men. I think that's the Marines, Big C. So it's going to take a few good people. I hope that we can end sexism and racism in our lifetime. I'm not going to be negative and say it won't happen. I just think if we get enough good people saying, if you can earn it, then you own it. If you can earn it, you own it. You get the job. Not, hey, you said something to anti-troops when they know that was a lie, and they use that to blackball another African-American, Big C. So in your thoughts, what do we say to the younger generation that tends to get along? It's the older society that those are the ones who are still bigoted. What can we say to our younger people? It's not the athletes that don't like each other. It's this older white establishment that still has that tinge of racism and that garbage that they've been inbred. Big C, your thoughts?
There's a reason why, Chunky, you don't have African-American ownership in any of the professional league. Yes, Jordan is a minority owner in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Minority, okay?
Yeah.
Not majority, okay? So he has a piece of the pie. Magic Johnson has always had a piece of the Lakers, okay?
Yeah.
But he's not in any ownership position to make decisions.
Yeah.
So when you think about that one entity right there, Chunky, and every time you get an African American in an executive position,
yeah,
this is the first to be fired. Just like the Bills GM, that way he's 500.
Yeah.
And he loses his job. Okay?
Yeah.
He loses his job. The 49ers have had how many coaches in the last 3 years?
2 minutes to count, Big C. 2 minutes to count. I got to use my fingers and toes, Big C.
They're paying these coaches up $45 million over a 3 year span. 3 coaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about what you're going to do with your organization if you put $45 million in your play.
Yeah.
Okay? They had some decent players. They had some offensive linemen to block for the everybody with the left and read.
Yeah.
So, you know, you sit back and you look at this, and on my team, they get a pass. Okay?
Yeah.
They get a pass on giving a no-good player $100 million. You know, Brock Osweiler gets 75.
Yeah.
Mike Rennie gets 47. None of these guys have a winning record in their career.
Yeah.
But they get the money.
That's true, Big C. It's just like being here in San Francisco, here off the Embarcadero. You can see the gorgeous, Bay Bridge, and they're building a tall tower here in San Francisco. I think it's going to be about 90 stories on the earthquake faults, even though they build them down deep enough so we don't have any issues with that happening. But being in such a gorgeous city in San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors, they've actually renewed their lease at the Coliseum for about 2 more years, just in case there's a delay in the construction of the new ballpark that's going to be over here off the Embarcadero, just about 4 blocks south of AT&T Park, Big C. So a lot of good things coming to the peninsula in San Francisco. But I hope that as we look forward into the future, all people should be created equal, even if we don't have the decency to treat people fair. If you're an owner of a sports team or even someone in a 9-to-5 job or in blue collar or white collar America, I hope that people are given the opportunity to speak their mind. And even if you don't like it, at least don't punish them for speaking their mind, because we do say we are the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I think sports, as we've always said, it will actually galvanize our society. When anything tough happens, we talk about it on the sports playing field before we do it in politics, and I think that gives it a better chance of making the future better for everybody, Big C. In the last minute, we'll have you close it out with your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to look at it from this perspective. Sam Bradford, about 8 years ago, was the overall #1 draft pick in the NFL.
Yeah.
As the quarterback. Sam Bradford still today does not have a winning overall record in the NFL. He's a quarterback in the NFL right now. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't come back. He played with the Lions.
Yeah.
And he walked into a bad hand in Minnesota and still could not win, okay?
Yeah.
This team is just a 500 team. But, Sam Bradford, they said, has had all the talent in the world as a quarterback. But he is no better than a Colin Kaepernick. Matter of fact, his overall win percentage is less than a Colin Kaepernick. And Charles has never been to the playoffs. Colin Kaepernick has 4 playoff wins and a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
But Sam Bradford is still thought of as one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick last year had as many wins as the overall draft pick #1 draft pick Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
No one talked about Jared Goff being out of a job. And everybody talked about Jared Goff not
Yeah.
But Colin Kaepernick is without a job. But this is where our society is. To be successful as an African American in our society never guarantees you employment.
Yeah.
Even though when you do things right, it does not guarantee you employment. When you don't get in trouble, it does not guarantee you employment. When we look at the sports blogger,
Yeah.
criminal activity in all sports, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, Colin Kaepernick is not on that ledger, okay?
No.
Colin Kaepernick has been an upstanding citizen in America. He has not turned against America. America has turned against him, and I think all the sports broadcasting companies owe Colin Kaepernick a huge apology because they have bought into this and made Colin Kaepernick the scapegoat. That's what has happened, Joe.
And I think you're so right about that. So hopefully in the world of sports, we don't have to always agree, but just tell the truth. And Google it if you don't know what the truth is. Just Google what the truth is. I just want to say that we have this Amgen bicycle race tour that's coming to Northern California. They'll start Sunday in Sacramento. It's 104 miles on the first leg, Big C. A lot of good old boys that want to come out and ride in California. The weather is absolutely perfect, so hopefully you can do that if you come into Northern California. There's so much to do here in beautiful downtown San Francisco. It's a little bit cool before the first pitch tonight with the Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, but it should be a great baseball game. And Big C, I love and appreciate everything you bring to Big C Sports worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. And as we always tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. Follow the Big C Sports Show on iHeart Radio. And as we always tell you, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. No woman should ever have to go through that garbage. If you see anyone going through domestic violence, just call 911. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.